Hi, everybody. Dr. Cindy here. I haven't been on for a while, but I did have an essay that I wanted to read, and it is called, hold on one secondo while I get it. It is called, give me a momento. It is called An Un-Whitened History of the Enslavement. Would whites still feel superior knowing, or is the psychosis complete? But before I begin, ta-da, here's my hat. Before I begin, I wanted to tell you to feel free to invite people in who you think might be interested in what I'm saying. Feel free to share. I did want to talk about an experience that I had today. I don't know whether you know, but I am a co-host on a blog talk radio show on the J. King Network called The Michael Gay Show. I've been a co-host for some weeks now, and I have to tell you, I really, really, really enjoy it. What started out as an interview and me reading one of my essays turned into reading another essay, turned into guest co-hosting, turned into, come on, join the gang. We talk about everything. We talk about politics. We talk about issues. Of course, we talk about justice issues. We talk about social justice issues and racism, white supremacy on occasion. We talk about popular culture. There are a number of co-hosts that are on there. My wonderful friend in my head and on air, and personally, even though I've never met her, Janet. And then, of course, there's Michael, and then there is Officer Crenshaw, and also the Red Ali, who we call Rev Hold Up, and a new co-host who started today, and her name is Denise Wilkinson from the Ladies of Sky. I don't know, whether you all, any of you, remember the group Sky. Well, this is the lead singer from Sky, and I had an opportunity last week to meet and talk with her. And when I tell you I was starstruck, I was starstruck. Starstruck. I really was. This week, we talked to a woman by the name of Dina Ruth Andrews. And this woman, you would be surprised, has the most prolific career in the music industry. And now she's marrying music and politics for the community. She was involved with some of the things that Nipsey Hussle was involved in. You may not even be aware, but she was the first manager to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the first manager / agent. What I want you to do when you finish looking at me is to get over to Netflix and look for the documentary called Black Godfather. It's a documentary, not that movie, not the blaxploitation movie. It's a documentary. She's in it. And it talks about this individual who was also very instrumental in the music business. Listen, when I tell you, you need to start listening to the Michael Gay Show on Saturdays, I'm not kidding you. I'm not just putting in a gratuitous plug here. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard on the J. King Network, Blog Talk Radio. Look for Blog Talk Radio, then look for the J. King Network. And if you're at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, get on there. You can call in. You can talk to me. You can talk to any of the co-hosts. You can chime in. You can lay me out. Well, don't lay me out. I've already experienced that between the month of the later part of May and the beginning of June. Some of you may know I had a couple of individuals, three individuals over the course of that time that got a little deep. with me, and I had to do something I don't like to do, and that's block them. But that was for my greater sanity. I had to block them. Um, anyway, like I said, uh, share this video now. Bring some people in. Hi, everybody who's here. Before I end, I will go on and hit all the everybody that gets on gets a green notation, and then I can go in and acknowledge everybody who popped in, whether it's for a second, a minute, or for the entire diatribe. But anyway, um, so let's begin. This essay is called An Un-Whitened History of the Enslavement. A lot of people don't really get into the enslavement. I do, for various reasons, because, yeah, it is a part of African American descendants of it. It is part of our history, and it's important for us not to forget, and it's important for us not to just dismiss it as something that happened and it has no more significance. But I did want to bring out the fact that the history of the enslavement as it is represented today is not the whole story. All we hear about and we see in terms of mockery is, a cotton bale, us out in the field, the ancestors out in the fields, working for nothing and being owned. In that way. But let me begin. Because I wonder how superior white people would feel if they knew the true severity of the enslavement, how inhumane, loathsome, and abhorrent the enslavement was in their history. I also wonder if at this point, I want to make sure people can hear me. Because I've got, I've got this here. Okay. I hope that you've heard me thus far. Oh, good. Okay. 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 I'm hoping that you guys can hear me because I just turned my mic on. I'm hoping that it's working. Anyway. I see somebody special. I will talk to you as soon as I get this essay done. So anyway, let me get back to it. I also wonder if at this point in America's history, I'm being too generous within my own humanity to suggest that white people would even care, given my knowledge and the circumstances surrounding the psychosis of white supremacy, when an ancestral lie generations ago did to the collective psyche of their entire cultural community. If you are like me, you are probably weary over the repeated references to slavery as to the complete history of African Americans being owned and forced to work in the fields for wealthy plantation owners. The simple fact is that the enslavement was so much more treacherous than being owned and worked to death in the field. See, this is what I want to get at. I want you to understand that the enslavement was so much more than just the capture and work in fields by the slaves. Now let me get this thing moved over a little bit because, okay. As we know, the rationale for history, written by white for white, is that it must be written with filters. It must be whitened. It must be bleached. Whitened history is very careful in its omissions of the most important details of American history and African American history in particular. There is no reason to assume that the history of the enslavement would be any different. No reason to assume it would be any different. Okay? Whitened history allows for arguments in academic and other discourse over the moods of the slaves, how they were treated, whether they would or would not prefer to be slaves, and other such diatribe. They provide images of enslaved blacks out in the cotton fields, in bandanas and hats, putting cotton into huge baskets. They offer text with exquisite detail of the cruelty of slave owners as the slaves toiled in the cotton fields under the hot and unforgiving sun. They write so that the reader feels the severity of the beatings by overseers and slave drivers and the precious benevolence. Let's not forget that precious benevolence and mercy bestowed on the good Negro slaves by their masters. See, we can't forget that. We can't forget that part, because you got to understand, they beat us because they loved us. Anyway, conjured up are visions of dancing and singing and happy slaves congregated by a lighted campfire at night, even after working from sun up to sundown, without a moment's rest. You figure, you kind of think to yourself, how in the heck can they be so joyful and singing and jumping around and just as happy-go-lucky after having toiled from sunup to sundown? There are even plenty of pictures and text rich in detail about individual Black bodies on the block being sold to other owners. But whitened history will never elaborate on the true purpose behind sales of Black bodies. Indeed, if my whitened history serves me correctly, sales of slaves were mainly for the purpose of having hands to work the fields. It wasn't until I became a full adult with adult children did I finally come to realize the actual heinous nature of the enslavement. You see, whitened history is the story of chattel slavery, where our ancestors were owned, used, and sold on the block for the purpose of work without pay. All one has to do is consider incarceration and the 13th Amendment, which allows for the enslavement if convicted of a crime. In fact, contemporary references, including those used today about slavery in any context, have at their root servitude or working without pay. There are, of course, references made to the mid-Atlantic slave trade. There is no way whitened history could leave that out. However, it concentrates primarily on emphasizing the cruelty and odious nature of treatment of the slaves during the passage. It doesn't explain completely and fully why the passage was so lucrative. While I am not in any way trying to dilute the importance of the cruelty of the trade, I would submit, based on what I understand about racism today and the reasons why the nature of cruelty perpetrated against Black Africans was detailed so gruesomely, is to remind the descendants. I want you to think about this. It's to remind the descendants today that of the very cruelty as a way to set a subliminal example of a potential future state of cruelty against Black African Americans should they get out of line. Think about the reference.
What?
Oh, okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Mommy probably wants you to stay down there while I do this.
No, she'll let me come back up.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't know.
Then my grandson is here. He's here.
Can I go back upstairs?
His mom's a little squeamish about these kinds of things. She's white, but I'm working on her. Anyway, I jest. Anyway, let me see. Oh, I got behind here. Okay. Whitened history will even suggest that racism was not the rationale behind slavery, which is true. Since racism was designed after the enslavement as a way to control and subjugate and to deny opportunity, equity, and justice. And equality. I said that, didn't I? And equity. Senior moment. Anyway, nevertheless, their purpose in interjecting racism within the context of the enslavement was designed to confuse the issue and merely allows the real impetus, none other than white supremacy, to remain hidden as the source. See, they'll tell you that it was all about racism, that the enslavement was just all about racism. No, it was about, well, I can't say what it was about. It was about enslaving human beings for money, as money, but I digress. But white supremacy was at the root of it. The reason why whitened history placed this chattel slavery in the forefront is because it serves white supremacy, and it is meant to bolster, it's meant to bolster the system of racism in its skewed form as it exists in the minds of white people in America. See, white people in America will think that racism is why slavery happened. No, racism is a system that was designed, created, developed, and has evolved over time to deny and or apportion equality, equity, opportunity, and justice. Oh, my Moody's back. Huh? Okay. All right. So you gonna look at the iPad for a little while you wait?
Yeah.
Okay. I love my mood. I love him. He's a sweetheart. I love my Moody Poo. Anyway, I digress again, but that was a good one. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to repeat that. The reason why whitened history placed chattel slavery. See, you need to understand that it wasn't all about chattel slavery. It wasn't all about working in the fields, tote that barge, lift that bale. Okay, that was an important part of it because it got that production going. It kept that economy going. But soon something else happened, which is not always talked about. So the reason why whitened history placed this chattel slavery in the forefront is because it serves white supremacy, and it is meant to bolster the system of racism in its skewed form as it exists in the minds of white people today. It provides, at the earliest ages of indoctrination, a feeling of superiority a feeling of superiority of white children over black children. It is the story of slavery used for the purpose of damaging the virgin minds of youngsters in their earliest introduction of their history. in this country.
Nanny,
Yes, darling.
I'm gonna have to go in the shower. Keep my house neat.
I'll keep it right there. I'll keep it right there. The minds of okay. It is the story of slavery used for the purpose of damaging the virgin minds of young black children in their earliest introduction to their history in this country relative to their white counterparts. It provides the "we owned you" and the "we gave you rights" narratives that are echoed today by the more overt white supremacists and bigots. It's up here in the head, people. It's in the head, okay? That concept of "we owned you." You wouldn't have no rights if it wasn't for us giving. We gave you this and we gave you that. Just see what I'm saying? Okay. It is the story of slavery for the ignorant masses of whites who are the descendants of poor white people as a way of continuing the legacy of their famed superiority over black people today. Trust me. The vast majority of white people in the South certainly did not own slaves. They was poor as church mice, okay? Wealthy landowners owned slaves. And as they are used today, and as they will always go against their own best interest today, they went against their own best interest then when they were sold the lie of superiority so that they would not unite and work with black people on nothing else but economic grounds. But hey, I'm digressing again. Let me get back to this. Today, it continues to serve the community of white people who can point to this whitened history and still feel that sense of superiority. White people whose ancestors likely didn't own slaves or weren't wealthy enough to own land, as well as those who arrived later and assimilated into white culture, are artificially reassured by this whitened history, even in the midst of their own continued economic misery at the hands of powerful white people who look like them, but use their similar color to deceive their ancestors long ago. The real story of the enslavement lies in that part of the slave trade after the Middle Passage was outlawed. Without a continuous supply of black African stock from the continent, the true insidious and barbaric nature of slave owners was revealed when black bodies who had already been stripped of personhood and humanity were commoditized. And sold like the wheat, corn, soybeans, and other commodities on the stock markets on New York's Wall Street. Like gold, like silver. Black bodies were valuable. Black bodies were insured because of their value as currency. Black bodies were worth money. If you had a slave, you had some cash. That was the motivation behind a lot of the atrocities that happened to the slaves. Women were bred like cattle, and the men were studied like the bucks they were called to keep the supply of currency available. Entire families were separated and sold away to the highest bidders, and Black bodies were reduced to the first credit cards of the 17th to the 19th centuries. This deserves repeating. Black bodies were insured because of their value as currency. Women were bred like cattle, and the men were studied like the bucks they were called, to keep the supply of their currency available. Entire families were separated and sold to the highest bidders, and Black bodies were reduced to the first credit cards of the 17th through 19th centuries. Imagine for a moment if whitened history emphasized this aspect of the enslavement. How superior would white people feel knowing that this was a part of their history? I don't know. Perhaps I'm being too generous with my own humanity here. Perhaps at this point in America's history, the collective psychosis is complete and irreparable. Tell me, is it? What do you think? Do you think that it is complete and irreparable? Do you think that the psychosis is complete and irreparable? That's what I want to know. I want to know how many people who identify as white are ready to stand up and understand that they've been sold a bill of goods, and that they too are being subjugated. But because they share the same skin color as the people who are subjugating them, and because they are told, you better than them, why? Why am I better than them? Well, because your skin is white, like us. Why else? It's ludicrous on its face. And anything else that they've been trying to feed you is a crock of bull. Okay? Everything else that they've been trying to feed you is a crock of bull. And the reason is they developed a system whereby it would always appear that you are better. Ain't that some shit? They develop a system so that it looks like you better. Because they got their something. They got, no, wait. Maybe I said not, because they got their body on the scale. Okay? They got their body on the scale. So that you will always appear to look better, and to be superior, while they rob you blind. Mahmoud just had a shower. You want to come over? Come on, peek in. He just Mahmoud, just put your head in and say hi. Don't do all the jumping and stuff.
Hi.
That's Mahmoud. They can't see but one eye.
Hi.
That's Mahmoud Pooh. He's 5. He's the one that told Nanny, I love your teeth. They're golden yellow. Kids, don't you just have to love them? Okay. All right. Nanny, he got right up in my face. Nanny, I love your teeth. They're a golden yellow. They tickle me so bad I don't know. But he's right. It's the coffee, but I don't care. At my age, I don't care. Okay. Oh yeah, that's the new one. This is his new animal. He collects these animals, and he's 3 years old, right, Moot?
Yeah.
And what's his name?
Tigery.
He doesn't have a name.
Yes.
Oh, what is
That's
it?
what I named him.
Tiger?
Yeah, Tigery.
Tigery. Okay. Yeah, he's got like a bunch of these different animals, and they've got names like Spacer and
Arthur.
Rescue. Art. That's the one I always forget. Arthur. Who else?
Horsey.
Huh?
Horsey.
Horsey, and just all kinds of stuff.
And Tuffy.
Tuffy. And of course,
Pecan.
He names them. They got a ton of names, and one Ella. Sherbert. Wait, one morning I looked, he had them all lined up at the foot of the bed. They were staring at me. This is the same one. I don't know if I ever told anybody. When he was, maybe 3, he was into booby trapping me. Literally. When he was 1.5 years, I even had some videos of him climbing on my head and all that stuff when he was little, before he could even talk well. He used to tell me, he used to make me a little nervous. Even today, I'm a little nervous. I'm wondering if he's a little psychopath. Because he said to me,
and Pippi and Owl.
Oh, right. And Owl. Yep. But listen.
This is what Pippi looks like.
Okay, Moot, let me finish.
And he's a Chihuahua.
Okay. Lord, I got him started. But anyway, and then I'm not gonna keep. Come on, Grayson. Now, I'm on the bed. Don't do that, because you're gonna make this thing jump up and down. Chill out. Now, chill. Get back on there and chill your little, cool your little lily. But anyway, he took a blanket, his blanket, and he covered my head with it. And then he took his hand and he covered. And I said, Grayson, you can't be covering Nanny's face. She's not going to be able to breathe. He looked at me and said, I want to stop you breathing. I want to stop you breathing. I said, that game we shall never play. And we never played it again. Okay, so see, we have a cat who's still alive. He doesn't mess with him.
No, mess with me, because I'll beat you.
Oh, okay. All right. Shh. Anyway, I don't want this to digress all the way to this level, okay? I want to say hi to some people. Okay. Emilio, hey. Linda, Dougie, Trenthausen got Cooper. Hey, Coop. If that's the same Doug, I hope. Stephen, Nathan. Hey, Nathan. You back quiet, huh? Diane, my girl. Michael. Hey, Michael. Michael Washington, Julia Neal Pittman, Hey, Carmen, Nakia Dillard. Hey, that's a blast from the past. I haven't seen you in a good while. Hi, Shing-a-ling, my sweetie. Hi, my honey. Yeah, you see me with my hat on, hey? Okay. It looks like it says there's only 2 people on here now, so I don't know who's here. Bobby Joe Barney, Melvin Stewart, Ardella's house, Angela, give me a call. Okay. Yeah. Maxine, Walter Johnson, James Robinson, Anthony Goodman, John Blaze. Hi, Mina. Mina just so poot. Corey Green. I'm sure the word how crazy, but you got that right. Just in case I need this for. Just in case I need this. Anyway. Anyway. Remember to share, like it, share it with your friends if you think they might be interested in this video essay. I had fun with my poot. I don't know whether I'm going to keep that part. Yeah, I'll keep it, and why not? Why not? That's my family. It's my love. Just as a brief aside, I wanted to talk just a little briefly about the incident that I had recently with some gentlemen, one of whom got on his own blog and kind of took a lot of things out of context that I write, and for whatever his reasons were. So what I did was I had to think about it, and I likened it to when I was a little girl. And I don't know whether people may remember or may have experienced this. As a little girl, sometimes, when guys might like you, they have really strange ways of showing it. Like as a young girl going to school or coming home, there was this one little boy that used to come up behind me and throw rocks and bricks and just try to just destroy me. And I was scared to death of him, and I would run home. But when he became an adult, and I asked him, why'd you used to throw bricks at me all the time on the way home? And he said, because I liked you. Okay. And of course, there's some who, the ones that pull your hair in school and, just want to be contrary or want to be negative or whatever. So I pretty much have chalked those other people up to that experience, to those experiences, and let it go. So I won't be writing anything else about those people. And I'm going to try real hard not to get all up in my feelings again and call people out like that anymore. I'll just quietly block them, and that's that. Okay. Anyway. Oh, thank you for those notations. Terrell Davis, Kenny Wayne, hey. Anyway, I was talking about slavery, but I also want to reiterate the show that I am a co-host on now. And there's a new co-host starting. This actually started briefly this week, but definitely starting next week on the Michael Gay Show, part of the J. King Network on Blog Talk Radio, Saturdays at 6 EDT and 3 Pacific Time. Denise Wilkinson of the Ladies of Sky. If you remember the group Sky, this is the lead singer of that group, and she is now going to be a co-host along with me, my girl, Janet, and Officer Crenshaw, and Rev, hold up, and of course the host Michael Gay. This week was, you can listen to it on the archives, get up there on J. King Network on Blog Talk Radio and listen to it. Listen to the show. I think it'll be on the archives definitely by tomorrow. We had Dina R. Andrews, who was the first manager and agent for Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam. Yeah. Okay. She has had an illustrious career. She is a phenomenal, prolific new person in the music industry. She's also in the documentary that I want you to look at. It's called The Black Godfather, and it's on Netflix. It's the documentary. It's not the blaxploitation movie that was out of the same name. It is a documentary. It's got all the notables in it. Everybody is in it, and it's all about this individual, this man. And in fact, let me go and get his name for you, so that you'll know who I'm talking about. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. You need to get onto Netflix and see this documentary. It's Clarence Avant and the Art of Wielding Power with Honor. That is who that documentary is about. And Miss Dina Andrews is in that documentary. So I do recommend that you guys look at that documentary. Miss Andrews will be back on the show, and I am so looking forward to it. I was so starstruck. She was responsible for A&R for people like the Whispers, for the group that did the Fantastic Voyage. You know that? Them come along and ride on the... She's done so much, and I had an opportunity to be in her space today, and I am just starstruck. So there's some good things going on the Michael Gay Show. I'm telling you. We're interviewing so many people. We're talking about different subjects. You can call in and chime in. You can call in and disagree. You can call in and do whatever. You can even cuss. I didn't know that at first, but you can cuss on that show. I was surprised pleasantly because I can cuss like a sailor if I want to sometimes. So anyway, I'm going to get off of here now. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions or comments about the essay that I wrote on the enslavement. Hi, Kenny Wayne. Hey, Rick Johnson. Hey, Cora Green. If you've got any questions or anything, if you want to discuss it with your friends, do a watch party later on when I upload it to my formal page. I'm going to take this and doctor it up, put a couple of subtitles and things that I put on, with my name at the bottom and that kind of thing. And then I'm going to upload it to YouTube, of course. And, but I just wanted to get back on here again and read you something. And as always, I just want to open your minds. I don't want to change them. I just want to open them. Okay, just keep that in mind when you read things that I write. I'm just interested in opening your mind to new perspectives, different things to think about that you just might not have thought of before. I may say things that other people just don't say because I'm old and I'm grown and I say what I want to say now. Okay, talk to you later. Dr. Cindy out.